Okay, on Friday I introduced you to oblique drawing. An oblique drawing is where you draw the elevation of the object and transfer all of the points back at 45 degrees. On Friday we did two questions. One was the table and the other was the letters ET. I finished off the class by asking you to complete the numbers 14 on your own. For the moment, we're going to correct this and I'm going to do it out for you so you can see how it needs to be completed and how to get it correct. Okay, we're going to do another little bit of oblique drawing, and when we're finished that, on Friday we'll start a new type of 3D drawing that I introduced to you on Friday. Okay, it was called isometric drawing. So for the moment, on your page, you're correcting the drawing that you've done. It shouldn't take you long to correct the problems that you had with it. But for the elevation, it's going to be 160 wide and it's going to be 120 tall. And we're going to use the measurements here on the side to help us complete that. So I'm going to essentially have to come up in 20s, the whole length of the page essentially. So 20, 20, 40 and then 20 and 20 on the left hand side, just to ensure that I have all the correct heights and everything is spaced 20 mil apart and it needs to be 160 wide. So I'm just going to zoom out for you to see this on your page. Okay, so to start this off, like always, you're going to start off with like a ground line, a baseline. So with your T-square, just draw a horizontal line. Okay, and on that horizontal line, we're going to measure 160 in total. I'm going to keep it kind of in the middle of the page. Now that 160 you have seen are divided up into 20s. There'll be 8 20s in that space. So I'm just moving along on my set square, measuring every 20 as I go along by showing it with a little dot. Now, all of those 8 points need to go up a height of a total of 120. So on the first 120, I'm going to do the other divisions, which are essentially 20. Now it says 60, but on the far side I need another 20. And then 2 other 20s. Okay, so I have all the widths I need there now. So they can all come across. Okay, and all the other points will come up vertical. You'll start seeing your grid coming into focus now, shortly. And I'm just going to grab my heavy pencil. So for the number 1, I'm actually just going to change the set square for a second. And we're working from left to right, remember, on this. The bottom line, 20 up. And we're skipping for 60 and then another 20 up. Okay, so they're all the vertical lines for the number 1. Now for the 4. Okay, so all the vertical lines are complete. I'm now going to start with all the horizontal lines. working from top down as you would have seen before, and the reason why you do that is just to ensure that you're not going to smudge your page. Apologies, I'm after going too long on that one. Now there's kind of 2 sloping lines going on. Well, even more than that, there's 3 sloping lines. For the 4 there's 2. And then for the 1 there's like a 45-degree line. Well, it should be a 45-degree line if you're accurate. Okay, now for the 4 it's not 45 degrees, but you're just joining the top corner to the top of the horizontal line. So that's getting you the slope on it. And then you're just joining the other 2 points together as well. Okay. Now, in order to complete this now, so we have drawn the front of it, you're then just going to go back to your book or your question sheet, the question that I sent you, and you look at the plan. You'll see that distance, and I'm just going to zoom in for you. You can see that the distance is 15. That means every line that comes back needs to be measured 15 on it, 15 millimeters on it, so that it will give you the depth for all of those 45-degree lines. So we're going to swap back to our normal 2H pencil, and from every corner, as long as it doesn't cut into the object, we'll draw it. I'm starting left to right. So with this first one, it's going to cut into the object, so you can't see it. So everyone doesn't need to be too long, as I was explaining there the other day. If it's only going to be 15 millimeters long, so it doesn't need to be a really long line. Now, as you know from the last day, there's some points that you can't draw, like this one. It's cutting into the number 4, so you can't draw it. Neither with this one, or this one. Any ones on the inside corners can't be done. Okay, so they can't be done. This can't be done, it's an inside corner, and this one can't be done either. Now, once you have done it, you can then measure 15 millimeters. Now, you don't need to measure 15 millimeters on every line, as I was showing you the last day. There's only some lines that really matter. So I'm measuring 15 on the first corner. I'm doing the same on the number 4, measuring 15 on the first corner. And that should kind of do it, I think. When we have that, we can do all the horizontal lines between the 2 45-degree lines. Then we're going to work on the vertical lines. Coming back to the horizontal lines again, so at the points where it touches, here and here, let's say, we're going to do horizontal. Now we're back to vertical for a little bit. And now we can put in pretty much all the 45-degree lines. I missed the inside of the 4 there. Okay. And taking every corner back at 45 degrees in between all of those widths. And as you can see, I am moving from left to right. Now the inside of the 4 is tricky, and I want to spend a little bit of time on it because I appreciate that it is difficult. Now, so you can see that I have all of the outside of the 1 done. It looks realistic looking. Same with the 4. I have all the outside of it done. The inside is tricky, especially when there's a slope in it. So you can see from the corner on the inside, I measured back 45 degrees. I've measured the 15 thick in it, and I've done the horizontal parallel to it. Now you can see that this sloping line, I need a parallel line to it. So you've learned before how to do sliding set squares, and this is the only difficult part of this question. So what you need to do is put your set square on the line and put your other set square underneath. Okay, and just line it up like that. You need to hold the one on the bottom firmly, and you're sliding the one on top until it gets to the point and hold, and then you can draw the line in. So now the 4 is fully complete, just as long as you do it in between the lines and don't go in any further into the object, and it's done. So that was your classwork from last Friday. Okay, it's completed. Today in class, we're going to look at doing a parking sign. Okay, you can see it there. I'm just going to zoom into it so you can see it. You can see there's a grid. The grid is in green, and it has a number of different boxes. I'm just going to count them for you now so you will do the same. This is going to fit on an A4 page. It needs to be 220 in length, and it needs to be 110 tall. You can see there's a lot of boxes on it. Each square is made up of 10 millimeters. So each box is 10 millimeters wide and 10 millimeters tall. You can see there's 8, so there's 22 boxes in total. That's what that means. And there's 11 boxes high. So it's 110 tall by 220 wide, and each box is 10 millimeters. When you've the grid done, then you can do the letter P, and then you can get the arrow, and then you'll transfer just the P and the arrow back at 45 degrees in order to get the oblique drawing. I'll join you in class now, but if you have any corrections to the number 14, you should have been doing that along with me. Most people will probably need to correct the inside of the 4, just because that was a tricky bit, getting the parallel line. You can see that in the oblique, every line that's come back out 15 millimeters is parallel to the previous one. Okay, they're all parallel to the previous line, and that's how you know if you're right or not. They have to be parallel to the previous lines, and obviously the inside of the 4 is probably the only thing that people would have got stuck on. On Friday, as I said, we'll be moving on to isometric drawing, but I will do a few questions that have curves in it. So in this one, the step up was where you had a slope, whereas you had been dealing with just straight lines. So this one has a slope in it. The same with the letter P, it has a slope in it as well. If we have a little bit of time, I'm going to show you how to do a curve, and we can continue on then in class. See you then.